Hello. So, I'd like to talk again about demonic possession amongst people with disabilities. And I do understand that this is kind of an esoteric and somewhat unusual and rare uh, topic to talk about. But part of the reason I'm talking about it because I have come across it, and you, my experience is that there's been basically zero support amongst social services. People just have no expertise. According to the psychiatric community, it effectively doesn't exist. And their method of intervention will basically just be put people on psychotropic pills when, massive doses of them when they exhibit certain symptoms, of rage or anger or, obsession or that kind of thing. So that's what I want to talk about a little bit. So some of the symptoms that you can look at are the facial contortions, because you're really looking at another consciousness there trying to take over. So it's the person's face will be like something is underneath it, trying to, manipulate it. There can be a change in voice, of timbre, of tone. Also look at what is the person actually saying, what is the content of their words, of their dialogue, of their mutterings. Also look at what is the content of their actions and belongings, and even music. And music, I do want to be careful because some people can listen to certain dark music and it's just okay, they're depressed, or they're just kind of drawn to it. But it can show complete part of the picture. And if you're looking at certain belongings, if people are drawn to really dark or sometimes overtly satanic things, and they have those objects and that music, and it's an integral part of their life, that could be an alarm bell. Interestingly, it could even be certain like preachers online who are, we all know certain folks are very even malicious and completely money oriented, and there's some nefarious people out there posing as people of God, and they are not such. Also, what I've come across is there's a whole lot of hiding. I mean, the devil does not like the light, so people will often even like bring their face down or cover their face or cover their mouth, or that kind of thing, because they don't want that darkness to be exposed. So the people will generally try and hide it in some way, because I mean, again, obvious reasons. You don't want people to see all that, because people will respond in an adverse sort of way, right? So it's often kind of hidden, or can be in dark corners, right? Unless you get in certain cases, there's virtually a complete takeover by the demonic spirit, and so it really makes it out into the world, and which are tangible, intangible ways. But again, unless you you can see the clear signs, it may just look like a psychosis. It may just look like somebody who's angry. It may just look like somebody who's having a bad day, kind of thing. And those exist too. I want to reiterate that schizophrenia does exist. The chemical imbalances do exist. Anger does exist. Built up resentment. All those things do exist. They don't necessarily mean that there's a possession there. And people may or may not be willing to talk about it. Like I mentioned, some folks have literally talked about, the bad man being there, right? They literally talk about, that entity, kind of being there and influencing them. And often people who already have mental illness, who already have depression or debilitating anxiety or anger or unresolved issues, that's just fertile ground for certain spirits to come in, and that's where they want to be. So there may not even be that much of a difference if between somebody who is and is not in a possessed state, or that may enter, and that may only come up every once in a while, right? They may just crop up, the spirit may show its face, right? So if it's at a low level too, it may be hard to detect it's there. It's the cases I've worked with. I mean, if there's low level, there may not be a whole lot you can do about it, especially because the person with the disability, you got to remember too that they may not be able to communicate these things. They may not even be aware that these things are there, right? they may not even have enough of a self-awareness to be aware of their own anger, their own frustration. They may not be able to articulate these things, right? When the people who are a little bit higher on whatever kind of spectrums or scales, they're more articulate. I had a guy, and he told me he was comfortable with it. There was a lot of maliciousness, a lot of anger there, and he outright, after a long period of working with him, admitted that it was there, and he was quite happy to have that evil and that anger and that hatred there. He was comfortable with it. There were some ups and downs with it, and some parts of it he didn't really like so much, but he was totally comfortable having that hatred there. And that puts you in a difficult position, right? I mean, what do you do? There's a lot of, benefit to, in certain respects, to being really mean, being able to exert that. I mean, a lot of us, just as regular human beings, we have these impulses come up and we repress them or whatever. Well, what happens if you don't have to repress them, right? What happens if you can just let all your anger and resentment and whatever rage and whatever desires you have that the rest of us suppress? What if they say, no, you can do that? And what if you have a sort of already a somewhat sociopathic or antisocial personality? People may not have, a whole lot a whole lot holding them back in that respect. They may not want to display it a whole lot, right? I think a lot of people do try and hide it. I mean, if you think about even the psychopathic killers, they don't come across as that. They have to fool people so that you trick them into the car, into a position where you can actually do some damage, right? So it's like the evil is not going to show itself overtly as such. So yeah, that's kind of a general rundown. Be careful about approaching if you suspect, right? Unless you have some professional level experience in that degree with the energy work and dealing with, severe neurosis or alcoholism or really damaged people, you got to be careful. Because you can get sucked in. And if that thing's stronger than you are personally, then they can take over, and that's no joke. So again, be very careful about approaching, seek professional advice or expertise if you have any sort of doubt of whether you're capable of handling that sort of thing on your own. So that is all I wanted to say for today. I wanted to kind of give that little bit of an update, and best wishes and God bless.